Mun perishes in mining incident along Cuyuni River. The Guyana Police Force, GPF, is investigating the tragic death of 46-year-old Oral Anthony Rouse, a miner from 58 miles Mabura Road, following a mining incident that occurred on Saturday morning at Aramubak Dam along the Cuyuni River. Initial reports indicate that Rouse was employed by 49-year-old gold miner Alvin Higgins and was working alongside 4 other crew members on a 4-inch land dredging operation. At approximately 9:30 HRS, the team was engaged in a pit measuring 20 feet wide, 20 feet long, and 25 feet deep when a sudden collapse occurred on the northern side of the excavation. The collapse sent a rush of soil into the pit, completely burying Rouse for an estimated 14 minutes. His co-workers acted quickly, digging him out and transporting him to Bartica Hospital for emergency care. Tragically, Rouse was pronounced dead upon arrival at the hospital. His body has since been moved to the Bartica Hospital's mortuary, where a post-mortem examination will be conducted. The Guyana Police Force continues to investigate the circumstances surrounding this unfortunate incident. Further updates will be provided as they become available. Teenager killed in Corentyne accident last night. The Guyana Police Force, GPF, is investigating a tragic accident that occurred last night at approximately 2100 hours HRS on Tain Public Road in Corentyne, Burbus. The incident involved motor car number PAH 6222, driven by 19-year-old Samuel Sabater of Tain, and an electric cycle ridden by 18-year-old Raj Mohan, also from Tain, who has sadly been pronounced deceased. Preliminary inquiries indicate that motor car number PAH 6222 was traveling east at a high rate of speed along the southern drive lane when the driver attempted to overtake another vehicle. It is alleged that Sabater activated his right-side trafficator during this maneuver. At that moment, Mohan, riding on the northern edge of the road, suddenly crossed into the northern drive lane. Despite Sabater's attempt to brake and avoid a collision, the front of the motor car struck the e-cycle, causing Mohan to be thrown onto the road surface. Emergency services arrived to find him in an unconscious state. He was transported to the Port Morant Public Hospital, where he was pronounced dead on arrival by the attending physician. The body of Raj Mohan is currently at Ramu's funeral home, pending a post-mortem examination. The Guyana Police Force continues to investigate the circumstances surrounding this tragic accident. Further updates will be provided as they become available. Guyana Police Force Address Deputy Superintendent Transfer. The Guyana Police Force, GPF, wishes to address recent claims made in the media regarding the purported transfer of Deputy Superintendent Fiona Harris and related matters concerning Ms. Adonica Alder, the wife of Assistant Police Commissioner Mr. Calvin Brutus, who left the jurisdiction. The force recognizes and respects the ruling of the court, which permitted Ms. Alder to travel overseas for medical reasons. In keeping with this directive, due process was followed to facilitate her departure. A discussion occurred between Superintendent Stephen Telford, Deputy Chief Immigration Officer, and Deputy Superintendent Harris, resulting in the necessary arrangements being made for compliance with the court order. It is important to clarify that at no point did Deputy Superintendent Harris act outside of her authority or against established protocols. Furthermore, contrary to the reports circulating, Deputy Superintendent Harris was not transferred. The Deputy Chief Immigration Officer, Mr. Telford, did not issue any transfer orders, nor was there any directive from the Executive Leadership Team, ELT, of the Guyana Police Force regarding such an action. The GPF strongly refutes the claims that officers are being threatened with demotion, transfer, or criminal charges in connection with this matter. As a professional organization, we remain committed to upholding the rule of law and ensuring that all members are treated fairly and in accordance with established procedures. We urge members of the public and the media to exercise caution in the dissemination of unverified information. The GPF remains steadfast in its commitment to transparency, integrity, and the protection of all its members. 12 gender-related murders recorded this year. Human Services Minister highlights ongoing efforts to combat violence. Minister of Human Services and Social Security, Dr. Vindhya Prasad, has reported that as of October 2024, a total of 12 gender-based murders have been recorded, with a majority of perpetrators being men. This statistic emphasizes the ongoing challenge of gender-based violence in Guyana. Compared to last year, we have seen a decrease in gender-based murders from January to October. However, every life is important, and we should strive for a future where there are no such incidents, Dr. Prasad stated. According to Dr. Prasad, 73% of the perpetrators of these crimes are male. In response to this alarming issue, the Ministry of Human Services is committed to implementing a series of additional programs aimed at making necessary services more accessible to victims and at-risk individuals. Key initiatives include 914 hotline, a dedicated line for reporting incidents and seeking help. Community Advocate Network, CANT, a program to empower local advocates to support victims. Cop Squad Initiative, a collaboration with law enforcement to enhance community safety. Survivors Advocate Program, providing support and resources for survivors of violence. In addition to these initiatives, the ministry is introducing critical legislation, including the Family Violence Bill and the Protection from Harassment Bill, which will soon be tabled in the National Assembly. Work is ongoing, and we will continue to ensure that we have a robust, transparent, and accountable system in place to address these issues, Dr. Prasad emphasized. The minister urged the public to join the ministry in its efforts, stating, "I encourage everyone to support us and get on board so that together we can eradicate and eliminate violence against women and girls, as well as violence in all its forms." AFC calls on government to provide clarity on oil money expenditures. News source Guyana, the Alliance for Change, AFC, is demanding transparency from the government regarding the spending of oil revenues, following concerning claims made by Terrence Campbell, the opposition representative on the Natural Resource Fund, NRF, Investment Committee. Campbell described the board as a rubber stamp and a white elephant, sparking significant concern among the party and the public. In a recent letter to the press, Campbell revealed that his repeated requests for justification concerning withdrawals from the fund have been dismissed, raising alarm about the lack of accountability in the management of Guyana's oil wealth. At a press conference on Friday, AFC leader Nigel Hughes emphasized that the lack of scrutiny over oil expenditures should alarm all Guyanese citizens. "Our asset, the money generated for us and future generations, is subject to absolutely no oversight by the Investment Committee. This effectively turns it into a slush fund, facilitating government initiatives rather than overseeing them," Hughes stated. Hughes warned that because the board and committee are directed by the government, the nation's oil resources are exposed to significant risks. He expressed concern over Vice President Barrett Jagdeo's recent comments indicating that it would be challenging for the government to detail how the funds are allocated, given that they flow through the national budget. Jagdeo assured that the money supports infrastructure, health, education, and other development programs. However, Hughes raised suspicions that these funds might be used for political purposes or to benefit those close to the ruling PPP government. "We have a government spending recklessly, and an oversight committee that has been described as a white elephant, rubber-stamping expenditures contrary to the people's interests. If this is indeed the case, we urgently call on the members of the Oversight Committee to reveal the methodology they have employed to assess government spending requests and the professional advice they have sought before approving expenditures," Hughes insisted. Hughes further noted that while the Oversight Committee is tasked with reviewing and examining expenditure of funds, it has failed to provide any information to the public regarding how the approved funds are utilized. ANUG declares no interest in coalition with PPP, PNC, or AFC. News source Guyana, A New and United Guyana, ANUG, has officially stated that it has no interest in forming any coalition with the People's Progressive Party, PPP, the People's National Congress, PNC, or the Alliance for Change, AFC. In a statement released today, ANUG clarified that while it will engage in discussions with other political parties, there are no plans for coalition talks with the AFC. The party emphasized that any meetings with the AFC would focus on other pertinent issues rather than coalition building. At a press conference last Friday, recently elected ANUG Chairman Dr. Mark France outlined the party's strategy to launch a significant membership drive aimed at voters nationwide as it prepares for the upcoming general elections. Dr. France highlighted ANUG's ambition to establish itself as a viable third force in the National Assembly. Reflecting on the political landscape, Dr. France noted that while the AFC has previously made substantial impacts as a third party, it failed to capitalize on its success after 2015. He stated, "The Alliance for Change wasted that opportunity, and in doing so, they would have shot the hopes of third parties. However, we have seen from 2006 to 2020 that there is a population out there willing to not vote by race or ethnocentric policies, but to embrace ideas and individuals that convey a clear message." As part of its short-term objectives, ANUG is focusing on expanding its base through nationwide outreach initiatives and increasing its visibility within the political arena. Dr. France announced that by early 2025, ANUG plans to release its manifesto, which will outline its policies and vision for an inclusive Guyana. "We already have a base document from the run-up to the 2020 elections, but the situation has changed. We are currently reassessing our priorities in light of the evolving economic landscape," Dr. France explained. He assured the general membership and the Guyanese population that a comprehensive policy document and official manifesto would be made available in the near future. During the 2020 general elections, ANUG garnered 2,313 votes. The party later joined its list with the Liberty and Justice Party, LJP, and the New Movement, TNM, securing one seat in the Assembly, which is currently held by the leader of the New Movement. Acting Chief Magistrate to rule on December 30th regarding restart of election fraud trial. Acting Chief Magistrate Faith McGusty is set to deliver a ruling on December 30th regarding whether the election fraud trial should start anew. This decision comes after the case was taken over from City Magistrate Laron Daly, who became ill shortly after the trial commenced in July. The trial, which addresses allegations of attempted fraud during the 2020 elections, began on July 29, 2024, but was adjourned after only 3 days due to concerns raised by the prosecution over the admissibility of certain evidence. At that time, only 2 witnesses had testified, Minister of Local Government Sonia Parag and Head of the Diaspora Unit at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Rosalind Rasool. During the adjournment, Magistrate Daly fell ill, leading to the current proceedings. Today, both the prosecution and defense presented their arguments regarding whether the trial should restart from the beginning. Special Prosecutor Darshan Ramdhani argued that the trial does not require a complete restart. He suggested that the acting chief magistrate could recall the witnesses and continue hearing the evidence. Let them go through the evidence again, and the matter continues. The question of de novo does not arise in these proceedings, Ramdhani stated. He further proposed that if the court disagreed with the prosecution's position, it should proceed with a summary trial, emphasizing the need for efficiency given that over 3 years have passed since the charges were filed. In contrast, defense attorney Nigel Hughes objected to the prosecution's arguments, asserting that the case must start anew. De novo means it has to go back to the start, as if the charge had just been read, Hughes argued, referencing his written submission. Following the brief arguments, Acting Chief Magistrate McGusty announced that her decision will be delivered at 10 a.m. on Monday, December 30th. The defendants in this matter include former Chief Election Officer Keith Lowenfield, former Deputy Chief Election Officer Roxanne Myers, and former Region 4 Returning Officer Claremont Mingo, along with Opposition Member of Parliament Volda Lawrence, People's National Congress Reform, PNC/R, Member Carol Smith-Joseph, and Election Officer Sheffern February, Enrique Levan, Denise Bob Cummings, and Michelle Miller. They face 19 conspiracy charges related to an alleged attempt to declare fraudulent results during the 2020 elections and have all proclaimed their innocence. Second power ship to arrive in Guyana this week. The second power ship, set to enhance electricity supply to the Demerara-Burbus Interconnected System, DBIS, is expected to arrive at Port Georgetown this week, according to Kesh Nandlall, Chief Executive Officer, CEO, of Guyana Power and Light Incorporated, GPL. Construction is currently underway on 3.9 kilometers of transmission line by a private contractor, and Nandlall reports that the project is on schedule. We are expecting to connect the ship before Christmas. We do not anticipate any difficulties so far, he stated. Workers are engaged around the clock on a shift basis to ensure that the power ship begins supplying electricity to the national grid before the holiday season. On Sunday, consumers in some areas of Greater Georgetown experienced an 8-hour interruption in electricity supply as GPL conducted necessary preparatory works for the arrival of the second power ship. Senior Minister in the Office of the President with responsibility for finance and the public service, Dr. Ashni Singh, noted on Saturday that GPL's electricity demand has surged from nearly 100 megawatts MW to almost 200 megawatts. There are new housing areas with hundreds of houses coming onto the grid, as well as new industrial and commercial investments, including hotels, factories, and processing plants, all demanding electricity, he explained. Currently, the peak demand stands at 187 megawatts, while the available capacity is 194 megawatts. Last month, GPL signed a contract with a joint venture of Turkish-based Karpowership Global DMCC and Qatar-based UCC Energy International LLC to charter the second power ship, which has a total installed capacity of 75 megawatts for 2 years. In the first phase, the power ship is expected to dispatch 60 megawatts to the grid within approximately 6 weeks, followed by an additional 15 megawatts upon completion of an additional transmission line. The contract stipulates that GPL will pay the joint venture 8.52 US cents per kilowatt-hour as a monthly charter fee for the new power ship, along with a monthly operation and maintenance fee of 0.98 US cents per kilowatt-hour based on electricity generated. GPL will also provide heavy fuel oil, HFO, for the operation of the ship's generators. This second power ship will complement the 36 megawatts of electricity already being produced by the first floating power plant located in the Burbus River. Nandlall previously announced that 2 generators with an aggregate capacity of 13 megawatts, currently undergoing major overhaul, are expected to be back online by December 10th and 21st, boosting generation capacity in the DBIS to 207 megawatts.